There is a moment every parent prays they will never face. A moment when the world grows unbearably quiet. When machines hum softly in the background. And a child's fragile breathing becomes the loudest sound in the universe. A father sits beside his son in a hospital room. His hands tremble as he holds a sealed envelope. Test results he is terrified to open. He stares at the small hand resting inside his own. A hand that once pulled his face close. With laughter and sticky fingers covered in chocolate. Today, that same hand lies still. Quiet, weightless. And the father whispers a question so ancient. So universal. That it becomes a prayer even when he has forgotten how to pray. God, if you are good, why does my son have to suffer? This is where the question begins. Not in philosophy classrooms. Not in theological debates. It begins here. In rooms where hope feels painfully thin. And suffering feels far too real to be explained away. If you have ever asked this question yourself, you are not alone. Every culture, every religion, every century has wrestled with the same impossible tension. If God is good, and God is powerful, why is life filled with suffering? Humanity has created libraries trying to answer this question. Philosophers have argued it for millennia. Believers and atheists have battled over it. With passion and pain. But today, I want to walk with you differently. Not through arguments. Not through debates. But through something deeper. Something gentler. Through the inner landscape of the human heart. Because suffering is not an idea. It is an experience. And to understand it, we must begin by honoring it. Suffering comes in many forms. Sometimes it knocks the wind out of us suddenly. A phone call in the middle of the night. A diagnosis. A betrayal. A tragic accident. A goodbye we weren't ready for. Sometimes it grows slowly. Like a shadow stretching across the soul. Depression. Loneliness. Shame. The quiet fear that our life is slipping out of our hands. No matter how tightly we try to hold it. And sometimes suffering is global. War, poverty, injustice. Millions crying out into the night. Asking if anyone is listening. If God is good, why doesn't He stop it? To ask this question is not to doubt God. It is to reveal the deepest longing of the human soul. The longing for a world where love wins. Where pain ends. And where every tear finally makes sense. This longing is not weakness. It is the echo of Eden within us. Pain forces us inward. It strips away the noise. It interrupts the rhythm of ordinary life. And suddenly, we find ourselves face to face with the questions we usually avoid. Why am I here? What is the purpose of my life? Does any of this mean anything? This is why suffering feels so jarring. It exposes our hunger for meaning. And here lies the strange paradox. We search for meaning because we were made for meaning. We protest suffering because our souls instinctively believe suffering should not have the final word. Where did this belief come from? Why do we instinctively cry out? This is not how it should be. Why do we long for goodness? Unless we were made by goodness? Let's imagine, for a moment, a universe with no God. Only matter, energy, time, and chance. In such a universe, suffering has no purpose, no meaning, no moral weight. It is simply what atoms do when they collide in unfortunate ways. But we don't live like that. We recoil at injustice. We mourn loss. We cry out for healing. We look for hope. Our suffering means something to us. And meaning itself points beyond the material. Even in our darkest moments, there is a small, stubborn flame inside the human spirit that insists. This pain matters. This love matters. This life matters. That flame, however fragile, is one of the strongest pieces of evidence that a good God is not far from us. Even in our suffering. Now we arrive at the heart of the question. And to approach it with honesty, we must first clear away the answers that are too small. Suffering is not always caused by human sin. Not every tragedy is punishment. Not every illness is a divine test. Not every death is part of some neat lesson. Life is more mysterious than that. And God is more compassionate than that. But there are truths. Ancient, profound, soul-shaking truths that help us see suffering in a new light. Let us walk through them slowly. If God is love, then the world must include freedom. Because forced love is not love. Obedience without choice is not relationship. A world where humans are free is a world where humans can hurt each other. Freedom makes beauty possible, but also tragedy. Love cannot exist without the possibility of heartbreak. And yet, despite all the pain, we would never choose a world without love. Not even for a safer one. We do not like this truth. But we know it deeply. Suffering changes us. Suffering strengthens us. Suffering awakens us. A world with no struggle would be a world with no courage. A world with no loss would be a world with no compassion. A world with no limits would be a world with no humility. All growth requires resistance. Every virtue is formed through tension. Every depth of character is carved by seasons of darkness. This is not cruelty. This is the mystery of becoming human. There is a strange, holy truth in life. The people who suffer deeply often become the people who love deeply. Wounds expand the heart. Pain softens us to the pain of others. Loss teaches us the value of presence. Weakness teaches us the beauty of kindness. Some of the most compassionate souls on earth are the ones who have tasted sorrow and chose not to let it harden them. Christianity makes a claim unlike any other faith or philosophy. God does not stand above human suffering. He enters it, not as an observer, but as a participant. Not as a judge, but as a companion. Not as a distant deity, but as a father who weeps with his children. The cross is not just a symbol of sacrifice. It is the ultimate declaration. You are not alone in your pain. If death is the end, then suffering is unjust, cruel, meaningless. But if death is not the end, if life continues, if love lasts, if hope is eternal, then pain is not a wall. It is a doorway, a passage, a transition, a shadow compared to what awaits. The promise of eternity does not erase suffering, but it reframes it. It tells us the story is bigger than the page we are living on now. Suffering does something sacred inside us. If we allow it, it strips away the superficial. It clarifies what matters. It deepens our love. It sharpens our purpose. It awakens our longing for God. Pain can break us, but it can also open us. Suffering is not good, but God can bring goodness out of suffering in ways that defy imagination. Let us return to the Father in the hospital room. Hours pass. The night deepens. The machines continue their quiet rhythm. Finally, with trembling hands, the Father opens the envelope. His eyes fill with tears. But something unexpected happens. In that moment, he feels a presence. Gentle, invisible, unmistakable. Like a warmth around his breaking heart. Not a miracle. Not a cure. But a companionship. A voice. Not spoken aloud, but heard within. I am with you. This does not erase the pain. It does not answer every question. But it reveals something we often forget. God's goodness is not proven by the absence of suffering. It is revealed by His presence within it. God does not promise a life without storms. He promises to be the one who stands beside us in the storm. He does not promise to block every tear. He promises to catch them and redeem them. He does not promise to remove the valley. He promises to walk with us until the valley becomes a doorway to something greater. This is why suffering is the toughest question. But hope is the final answer. If God removed all suffering, He would remove choice. If He removed choice, He would remove love. If He removed love, He would remove everything. That makes life worth living. But because love is real, loss is real. Because freedom is real, consequence is real. Because the soul is eternal, The refining of the soul often happens through fire. And yet, through every season of suffering, there is an unbroken thread. You are not abandoned. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. If suffering tells us anything, it is that we long for a world where suffering ends, where love is whole, where justice is fulfilled, where peace is complete, where joy comes without fear that it will be taken away. That longing is not naive. It is the whisper of eternity. A reminder that we were made for more than this broken world. And the God who created us is the God who promises to restore all things. The world hurts. Your heart has scars. Your story has chapters you wish you could erase. But suffering is not the final word. Hope is. Healing is. Love is. God is. A good God allows suffering because He created a world where love can exist, and where souls can grow, and where every tear has eternal significance. But a good God also enters suffering, walks with us through it, and transforms it from the inside out. You may not feel Him. You may not understand Him. But the story is not over. As dawn breaks, the Father leans over His Son and whispers, I don't know what tomorrow brings, but we're not alone. And that is enough for today. In the quiet warmth of the morning, something changes. Not the circumstances, not the diagnosis, but the heart. Sometimes, God does not remove the storm. Sometimes, He gives us the strength to stand within it. And sometimes, He simply sits beside us until the storm passes. Either way, His presence is the answer to the greatest question in human history.